Okay, we're on part 3 now. We're still writing that equation in slope-intercept form. We did it from a graph. We got the equation from a table. We are moving on now to 2 points. And I do have to say, I just realized that I'm recording these notes from home. And in my last video, I had my old comfy paint-stained hoodie on that looked probably pretty gross as I was writing. So I went and changed. Oh my gosh, how funny. Okay, here we go. 2 points. You guys, like, we've done enough with slope and these graphs and these tables and these points for you to probably be able to look at this and figure out what I need from you. You need to be able to find the M, to find the B, and then to write the equation. And I do want to point something out. I have this graph over here, this coordinate plane, but it's in the column that says check yourself. So I kind of want you to pretend like it's not there right now, because again, we don't want to rely on having graph paper all the time because we won't. So you need to be able to use this formula here. So if I need M and I need B, what did we say is always the easiest one to find? The easiest one to find is the B, because it's the beginning value and when X is 0. So in either one of these points, do you see an X value of 0? Yes. I see that when an X value of 0 is paired with 5, then I know that that's my B. So I know that that's 5, and I know that in my equation, there's gonna be a plus 5, right? It's gonna be y equals something X plus 5. Now, I need to find my M, which is, we learned a couple standards ago, we know to use the stack and subtract, right? And it's already stacked for you. So if you are comfortable with that strategy, I kind of have it set up for you to do that because that is the easiest thing to do. I'm just looking at, and I do want to, well, I don't have a highlighter for that. I want you to do these two numbers minus each other. Try to color code it for you. And these are my X's that I'm going to do minus each other. We've learned this, so this is just a review lesson. So I'm taking my two Y's and subtracting them, and I'm getting 5 minus 2 is 3. I'm taking my two X's and subtracting them and putting them in the denominator. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. I can't reduce that. The negative has to stay because there's only 1. So my slope is negative 3 over 2. There's not enough room to write it there. So I'm going to assemble my equation just like I did for these last 2 videos. Once I know the slope, I have y equals negative 3 over 2x with a starting value of 5. Now, I want to show you what I mean for check it. Meaning if I were to plot these points, 0, 5, which is don't move left or right, and then 2, 2, and if I were to draw this line, I don't have a ruler, so we'll see how straight I can get it. If I were to plot that and then check it to see, oh, what's the equation of this line? Because this is going back to part 1 video. That's you going, oh, I remember when we did this. I like pulling it off of a graph. It's easier. I could see that that's plus 5. So y equals plus 5. And then if you were really good at doing this, the rise and the run, drop 3, run 2. So there's your negative 3 over 2x. They match. This is going to be used to check yourself, not to actually plot the points and do it. Because what I find a lot of kids will do is they'll go to plot this point, but they'll plot them wrong. And then when they read the graph is wrong. So we are using these these graphs over here today just to check ourselves. So let's take a look at this one. I need the M, I need the B. My B is pretty easy. I'm still just gonna go ahead and continue to use that. So, and I'm gonna stop writing the M and the B now because we're on part 3 video. So I'm gonna have y equals something X plus 3. I need to figure out what that something is and then I will be done. Let's do stack and subtract. 3 minus 2 over 0. Now, I'll show you this one more time before I just start skipping this step. When you are subtracting a negative, and I know like there were years past where other teachers, they just kind of said, do that. If you go to look at this and you see that you are about to subtract a negative and you want to go right to put the positive, you can. 3 minus 1 is 1. 0 plus 4 is 4. So my slope is 1/4. which means I put the 1/4 x there. And if I wanted to check myself, I will go 0, 3, and then -4, +2, and I would connect these, and I would say, is that 0, 3 right here? Yep. And is my rise 1 and my run 4? Here's my 1/4, and it checked. Okay, let's do these two. So I know that I have a y-intercept of 2, so I'm immediately going to put y equals something x plus 2 because it's touching there. If for those of you who are kind of like, I hate that stack and subtract, I will do a table for you on these last two, meaning go ahead and just put your ordered pairs in the table. So for some reason, if you get confused about what to write where or when it's a plus, then don't do that. Just use this strategy. So if this is your x and this is your y, we're looking, remember, for the change in your y's divided, funky y, divided by the change in your x. Well, what's the change in your x? From 1 to 0, you went down 1. From 4 to 2, you went down 2. So my y changed by down 2, my x changed by down 1, which means my slope is 2. And so y should equal 2x plus 2. Let's just check it real quick. We won't check all of them. So if I have 1, 4, 0, 2, is my y-intercept 2? Yes. And is my slope, my rise and my run, excuse me, like where I'm going to my friend's house, right? Up 2/1. Yep, we're good. Okay. I will do this table horizontally now for those of you who like that. This one's a little bit harder because sometimes kids even mess up when they go to put it in the table. You need to put your point. 2 is x, y is -1. X is 0, y is -3. And then this literally just takes us back to part 2 video, right in an equation from a table. And you're finding that this is 0, -3, so y is going to equal something x minus 3. I just got to find that change in y and that change in x to find that m value. 2 went down 2 to get to 0. -1 to -3. If you think about it like this, I'm at -1. I got to get to -3, which means I also went down 2. This one's easy because -2 divided by -2, any number divided by itself is 1. So I'm just going to write x, you guys. I'm just going to write x because 1 is my assumed, okay? So we could keep going and we could keep checking. Let's just do a couple more because we're going to get to those special cases. We're going to fly through these. I'm going to use my stack and subtract. So I'm going to do 6 minus 3. First of all, I know my b. You know, this is a third video on this, seeing that 0. So you should at least know by now that that is your b value. That's where you're beginning. And then I'm going to do 6 minus 3 over 0 minus 1. This is a great way for you to get some practice with those integer addition and subtraction rules. That equals that. There's one negative, it's got to stay. So the equation for this line with these 2 points is going to be y equals -3x plus 6. Let me show you. Because if I were to go down 3 and over 1, there's my line, and there's my 1, 3. Okay. Now, I put this one here on purpose because I wanted you to be really careful about picking your y-intercept. You know, when you see a 0, it's got to be in the x for this to be your y-intercept. So your b is actually 3, not 4. So be careful when you see that 0. So it's going to be y equals something x plus 3, y equals something x plus 3. To figure out what that something in front of the x is, I do my stack and subtract, and I do 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. 3, don't take any away, you still got 3. You don't have any, take 4 away, you're in the hole. My slope is -3/4, so I'm going to put a -3/4 coefficient in front of my x. And this is my equation that I just wrote from 2 points. This is the third video in a row we are writing equations, and they all, for the last 3 videos, have looked like that, okay? Except when you get to these two. And I'm going to show you how to do it the long way, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut. And I know we all love shortcuts, so watch, okay? If I were to take these 2 points and plot them. Let's say 0, 5, which is don't move left or right, go 5 up. -2, 5, which means go 2 to the left, but still go 5 up. Those two dots are right next to each other. This is a horizontal line. If you remember from the first two videos, a horizontal line means it has a slope of 0 because it's not positive or negative, it's 0. And if it has a slope of 0, you might think you write y equals 0x. It's got a y-intercept, that one's still easy to find, of 5. And if we have 0x, remember from that last video, we don't really write it. And there's that y equals 5. This is like our 5th video dealing with horizontal and vertical. We've been working on it since standard 9, so it's time to really learn that this is a horizontal line. And here's your shortcut. Your shortcut literally is, you could have probably looked at both of these ordered pairs and seen that the y value for both of them was 5. This is quite possibly, if you know the shortcut, the easiest problem you're gonna do. Because you're gonna see that they're both 5 and go, oh, the y value is 5. That must be a horizontal line at y equals 5. Which means, watch, let me just show you with the stack and subtract too. Because when I go to do the stack and subtract, look what I get. I get 5 minus 5 over 0 plus 2, which is 0 over 2. And that's how I know that my slope is 0, because I just calculated it. But I didn't need to do all that. If you are observant and you look, that's good enough. So now look, I'm gonna be observant again. Actually, I wanna change this to 8 because I don't like the fact that I used, no, I can't because I gotta have that 0. So I'm looking at both of these. And just like both of these y's were 5, so the name of the equation was y equals 5, what are both of the x's? They're 0. If they are the same, then x equals 0. That is the name of that equation right there, okay? If I were to change this and say, let's make it 8. So if both of my x values were 8, then the name of this equation would be, this camera, sorry, I'm zooming on my phone and it sometimes goes the wrong direction. If I look and saw that both of my x's were 8, then the name of this equation would be x equals 8. And what would that look like on this graph? Well, let's plot our points. Let's plot 8, -8. Let's plot 8, +2. And you aren't, or you shouldn't be surprised to see that they're not next to each other. You guys, they are on top or above each other because that's when your x values are the same. So, hey, what's your y-intercept here? Where does this blue line touch the y-axis? It doesn't. So do you remember on our last one where he said m equals, and you wrote undefined because that's the slope of a vertical line, and you wrote b equals, hey, where's this? None. It doesn't touch that anywhere, so there is not a y-axis or intercept. There's not a b. And so when you have an undefined and none, it's an x equals, where is it touching the x-axis at? 8. Okay, and that is how you write an equation from 2 points.